Okay, let me first off tell you my passion for this subject. 20 years ago, I got an all expense paid trip to Afghanistan. And when I came home, one of the interpreters, translators that I had, he was in the medical field. And he eventually found his way. This is 2004. He eventually found his way back to Washington, D.C. And he goes from being working in the medical field over in Afghanistan to coming over here and driving a cab. And that's just always resonated with me because he did a great service for our country. I've lost contact, but I think he was an interpreter for us for a year, possibly 2 years, and then he comes over here and he's underemployed, and this happens quite a lot. So that's kind of where my passion for this comes from. United States was built in part by immigrants and immigrant labor, and the nation's long been a beneficiary of their energy, the ingenuity that immigrants can bring to the table. So that's why I feel like it's very important for me. I think Representative Koch agrees with this. Let me tell you what this conversation is not. This is not a conversation about the border or the flow of illegal immigrants. I'm a Marine. There's nothing I love more than a secure perimeter. This is about the green card holders. This is about our international students. This is about those that have come over here seeking asylum. Think about Ukraine. Think about Iraq. That they've come to America. They are legal citizens. And how can we make sure that they are employed at the level we need them to be employed so they're not a burden on our system? We want them to come in this country and we want them to be successful. That benefits us. So you can see a few numbers up there. We've had 36 million legal immigrants to the United States. Currently in the United States, I think there's been about 3.7 million refugees since 1980. That's when they updated really some of the refugee rules that go on. Couple important, interesting things that Emily and I learned when we were researching this. The immigrant population is more likely, has a higher percentage holding a higher education degree than native-born United States. There's also a lower percentage that do not have a high school diploma. So we are truly looking at both ends of the spectrum. We're having them on the general labor side with less than high school diploma, all the way up to working in your STEM field. And I believe that in the United States, over 23% of that STEM employee population is made up by immigrants. So that's a very important part for our sector. Refugees in the United States, that number's gone up in 2023. 2021, it was obviously a little lower. If you go back, look in the last 20, 30 years, it seems to hover somewhere between that 25 and 60,000 range of legal refugees coming to the United States each year. Green card holders, and the biggest thing here, I think everybody know what a green card holder is. So these are permanent residents that are coming over to the United States, and I actually served with several when I was in the Marine Corps, but we've got 18,700 of them are serving in the military and going overseas with us. And then there's over 1 million international students currently at our universities. And then just wanted to bring it down to a Kentucky level. So we've got about 140,000 legal immigrants in Kentucky. That represents about 5.4% of our labor force in the Commonwealth. And I think that's some pretty powerful statistics and why we need to pay attention and make sure that we are paying attention to our immigrant labor. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Representative Koch.
Thank you, Chairman Cook, and thank you for your continuing support for this topic. And thank you for being such an expert in immigration. I might hire you into my law practice. As Representative Cook mentioned, we are here to discuss an existing population in Kentucky that is ready to work, that is authorized to work. I have my guests from the Jewish Family and Career Services who help these individuals get into careers, help them start businesses. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of frame is the shift in demographics. So we have refugees. We have 3, and I believe 4 now, refugee resettlement agencies in Kentucky. The concentration of refugee resettlement in terms of numbers has shifted. So it used to be, right, Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green, Northern Kentucky. Now it's Louisville, Bowling Green, Lexington, Owensboro, and then Covington. And the highest populations are Cubans. So for a context, we have Louisville resettled about 16,000 over the period of like 2018 to 2022. 11,000, almost 12,000 of those were from Cuba specifically. And so the shift in numbers in terms of where these folks are coming from in Kentucky and in Louisville is very important because, as Rep. Cook mentioned, individuals who enter from Afghanistan or Ukraine are allowed work authorization incident to arrival. That means as soon as they enter the United States, they're authorized to work. However, entrance to the United States pursuant to the parole program that was established this last year, which includes Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, do not get work authorization incident to arrival. They have to apply for work permits, which involves waiting for USCIS to process. And in Kentucky, it means that they're not able to get a driver's license. So you can take everything we've just heard about transportation issues generally in Kentucky and magnify that for individuals who also may not have internet access and have, in addition to all of those issues, language barriers as well, all while trying to navigate a brand new community that they've been resettled to. So I just wanted to frame that a little bit, and I will hand it over to my guest.
Can I ask real quickly, sorry to interrupt,
Of
but
course.
the parole program, federal, state, what is
So immigration is federal.
everything there with the parole program is all federal, just
All
making sure
federal.
for the members, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I will hand it over to Christina and David to give you an overview of what I think is a good model to serve these individuals and help them get back into the workforce in terms of the educational attainment or the career paths that they should be in, and therefore magnifying our own workforce development at the same time. Thank you.
So, good afternoon. Again, my name is Christina Milkey. I am a career counselor specifically for refugees and immigrants working at JFCS. The most recent statistics that we have. Kentucky has received 9,000 refugees in this past year. Those are all over the state. That's not just in the 5 communities that we have resettlement, but that includes Eastern Kentucky. Louisville has received 30,000 refugees in the last 5 years, 80% of whom are working age, and more than 50% have a high school degree or more. Basically, the Kentucky population would have decreased, if it were not for immigrants and refugees. Immigrants also are starting businesses at a higher rate than American-born individuals. So I provide services for refugees and immigrants. We served 234 individuals in the last calendar. So I went from August to August, so the last year, from 39 different countries. More than 75% of my clients have a high school diploma, and 36% of them were working in healthcare prior to their arrival. Most doctors and dentists, with some physical therapists, nurses, all sprinkled in there. I also do consulting across the entire state of Kentucky. I helped, nurture a similar program to ours in Bowling Green and Lexington, so that there is these opportunities are available for other resettlement communities. But I get calls all the time from Florida. I've gotten one from Alaska recently, Oklahoma, California, all over the country that are looking for ways to get back into their career, which is my specialty. So barriers that we see with this population specifically: lack of English classes. So language is always a barrier for most refugees, not as much for immigrants, but more for refugees. They don't know that they're coming to the United States before they get here. They could go to one of 10 different countries. It's just, this is United States chose them and they came here. So they don't know that they have to know English. When they get here, ESL classes, English as a second language classes, are not always readily available. Currently within Jefferson County, there is a wait list of more than 6 months to get into these English classes. And so that retards their ability to return to their fields fast. Transportation. Employers are more frequently located outside of public transit. And those are most of the employers where our immigrants are working. DMV offices, I feel like a broken record, but are booking months out just to get a driver's license. And so those have caused some unnecessary barriers. My specialty is the licensing and credentialing. So the state of Kentucky has unnecessary barriers. I can come up with several examples, but citizenship, arbitrary citizenship requirements for example, teaching vocational. I have a client who's a CNC programmer, and in Cuba, he was a vocational teacher. That's all he wants to do here. You have to be a citizen to do that in the school system. Why? That makes no sense. Other is re-education. So for education that you already have, having to go back to school and start from zero, that is another unnecessary barrier. Recredentialing changes. So USMLE is the United States Medical Licensing Examination. Basically, it's the same board that all doctors have to take in the United States. Any doctor who comes from a foreign country, they have to take that same exam. USMLE recently changed their acceptance rates. So now a school in a foreign country has to pay in order to be eligible to take this exam. So if you're from a school in the global south, 9 times out of 10, that country is not paying for you to be eligible to take the medical exam. So we have, at least 5,000 doctors, probably that I've seen myself, who cannot take the medical exam. And we need them here in Kentucky. We need them to be medical doctors here, but they can't. Missing information on our state websites. More than half of the licensing information for internationally educated individuals is not listed on our websites, which means that our clients have to call the offices, which many times they're very busy and they don't answer, or physically go to Frankfurt or wherever their closest office is in order to get information just on how to recredential, how to recertify. There are time barriers. So the grants that we have, most refugees can be served with federal grants for up to 5 years. Because of licensing requirements, it usually takes longer than 5 years for somebody to be re-licensed. We are lucky that we have a foundation grant that allows us to work with people after their 5 years, or others with different immigration statuses. But the time barriers, a lot of people are just going to move to different states. It's just way easier to move to a different state. And we are losing out on a lot of really great talent here in Kentucky in a lot of the fields that we desperately need. And obviously, most of my clients currently work in a factory making anywhere from $16 to $18 an hour. If we compare that with what a nurse or an engineer or a doctor would make, obviously the tax benefits coming back into our communities would be much greater if this process were easier for them. I tried to get a lived experience here. All of my clients are working, or all of the clients that I had that experienced these barriers have now moved to other states because it was much easier for them to get their license in another state. But to speak about Layla's experience, she texted me this. So these are her words pasted from my WhatsApp. But she was a nurse in Afghanistan. She worked for 6 years, taking care of mothers, babies, including the family members of American veterans. In August 2021, the Taliban came into Kabul, which is where she was working, and they basically threatened to kill her because she was an educated woman. She was able to get onto one of the planes and was evacuated. She didn't know where she would come. She ended up in Kentucky. It was really hard for her at the beginning. She couldn't come with her family. She just had her little brother. And so she was now responsible for another human life. Lots of difficulties for her. She got a job at GE, and she came to me in order to recertify as a nurse. After the Taliban takeover, the Taliban burned all educational documents of all women in the country, which means that her documents cannot be validated, which means that now she is starting from zero as a nurse and going back to school. So we are now missing out on talent from someone who is experienced and has to go back to school because of licensing restrictions. And she's very happy to be here and very, very grateful, but she wishes that it was easier. So thank you all for your attention. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, we're welcome to them.
As a side note to that, when I was over there in 2004, I was actually there and helped them construct and open up the first higher education for women. It was in the Bamiyan province.
Yeah.
And so it kind of breaks my heart to hear that entire story. And then we've got one more speaker that's on Zoom.
Absolutely.
And Representative Duval, you'll recognize Brian Becker is coming on from Bowling Green.
Fantastic.
Yes, hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. And I want to thank Representative Cook for the invitation to speak on this important topic. To begin, I'm going to reuse the phrase New Americans. It's a term we prefer to use that comprise individuals who were born outside the U.S. It's going to also mean they have different years of residence in the U.S. and specifically Kentucky, different levels of English proficiency and different immigration statuses, such as we've talked about here already. Bowling Green's known for having thousands of refugees resettled over several decades, and a 2018 research brief commissioned by our City of Bowling Green government on New Americans' economic contributions in Warren County found that between 2011 and 2016, our immigrant population grew over 86%. But that same research also found that nearly 26% of those immigrants were commuting outside of the county for work, compared to just under 15% of the general population. And we know that many of them are getting jobs across our border in northern Tennessee, where the pay is solid, and those employers have very accommodating practices for their limited English proficiency that a lot of them have. So as a young, rebuilt workforce board back before the pandemic, we wanted to be involved in the efforts to support this population, curb that drain that was going out of our county for work. And so we got involved with all the refugee and immigrant community groups. We wanted to be at the table with those service providers and determine the gaps and find the solutions to those gaps. Long story short, we launched one position specifically set up to serve that population, and we required candidates for the position to be multilingual. And Anna St. Christoffel, who's also joining by Zoom, has been serving as our new American Workforce Navigator since the end of March 2022. And based on our groundwork and the massive effort of her daily work, we can come and bring you some successes and challenges to report on from our perspective. And most of these were provided in a one-pager. Do I need to screen share that, or do you guys have that at this time?
We do have that in our packets, but you're welcome to screen share if you wish to do so. But members, that is the last page in your packet.
Okay, so I'll just start by saying I won't screen share. I'll just jump right in and keep us on track with the time here. But employment services staff positions that can be mobile, front-facing in their community, work outside traditional office hours, and that can carry some business engagement responsibilities are successful and can be replicated and should be replicated. So I'll repeat, employment services staff positions that can be mobile, front-facing in their community, work outside traditional office hours, and can carry business engagement responsibilities are successful and should be replicated. Positions that are able to do that and be multilingual are the secret sauce to serving this population effectively. Since January 2nd of this year, there's been 700 new American individuals coming to our office seeking employment services. Anna's been able to connect over half of them to jobs. 70% of them did not have a job at the time they sought services. Most of them have very limited English skills and speak Spanish or Swahili as their native language. This population specifically needs guidance on how the job application and interview processes work, and what expectations employers have and what their individual roles are in the process, and then the system as employees. So we've been providing group presentations in different languages to give this guidance, and Anna, as well as some occasional part-time and even intern staff, have helped to create resumes and submit job applications so they can be seen by employers that usually have these laborious online-based applications. Even if the jobs don't require using a computer, just getting in and applying usually does. And so at this moment, actually, we have over 70 more individuals waiting for the opportunity to come to one of these workshops. So Anna works as a field researcher to meet with companies, determine their information beyond what's on flyers, and take that intel to the job seekers. And so likewise, she communicates and advocates for the companies to better understand the challenges and barriers that her job seekers face and help the companies develop solutions for supporting their new American workforce. She partners with those employers to stay in regular communication and together with a lot of our local service providers to create these talent pipelines. But I also need to be clear, not every pitch to an employer results in a pipeline, and not every pipeline that gets open stays open continuously. Employers still have a very large role to play in supporting their employees, regardless of country of origin. But we're fortunate. We've obtained some funding to turn on Anna's position initially, and after some amazing initial results, we've been fortunate to have funding support from our local government to keep her position going a little longer. However, this is a much bigger job than one person who speaks several languages can handle. Anna is trilingual, bilingual. I'm trilingual, TRY. I try to speak more than one language, but that's really, again, the secret sauce. And I will say that she's getting constant requests for her services from people that are living in other states and even other cities here in Kentucky. So our colleagues in Lexington and Louisville, I know you guys have been looking at the workforce participation rates and the prime age population, but in Louisville, Lexington, and Bowling Green, our workforce board areas, we actually have more prime age, limited English proficient adults than we do veterans. Yet we don't have the infrastructure to support those job seekers, and it's not funded or embedded like our employment services to the veterans are. So as a new American navigator model, we've deployed and attempted to support, and we're by no means perfect at this. We're trying to learn every day. It has shown great promise and we think replicable results, but in-person language support is very, very critical. And I'll just end by saying, in the movie Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner's character is guided by an audible voice that tells him, if you build it, they will come. And we would posit to you today a similar message that if we built and expanded the New American Navigator services, those job seekers, especially the ones in those more urban areas of our Commonwealth, would receive the support they need to obtain and retain employment. And our employers would have access to counsel that helps them better understand the steps they can take to attract and retain this viable target population. So thank you for the honor and sharing our work with you today. And I know Anna also stands ready to answer questions.
Mr. Becker, thank you so much for your comments, your testimony, and information. And I would like to allow you to speak to us. I do need you to identify yourselves for the record, please, since I don't have you formally on the agenda here. So if you would do that for us, and you may proceed with any comments you wish to make.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Go ahead, Anna.
Yes, as I would like 2 minutes. So good afternoon, happy Thursday. So I'm
Anna, we have to introduce ourselves first, they said.
Yes, I know, but I'm Anna San Cristoforo.
And Brian Becker we're both with the South Central Workforce Development Board.
I'm the New American Workforce Navigator for South Central Workforce Development Board. I'm New American. So I lived in 4 different countries. So this is my first immigration. I was born in South America, in Chile, but my parents were born in Barcelona, Spain. I lived a few times in Spain. And my husband is a French Canadian. That's why I speak French too. I lived 12 years in Montreal, Canada, where it's mandatory to speak, read and write in French. And I had been here for 12 years. I'm a dentist. I was teacher at the dental school in Chile, and I was dentist for the Chilean Army. So believe me, I know what the immigration process means and what important is for us, for New America, to join us this new society and be part of this society. So I would like to summarize in a few points that these 2 years or 2.5 years in experience in our board, that we learn a lot. And we can say that we are successful because we work inside those different communities with their community leader. So we know exactly what the Hispanic community need, or the Burmese community, or Swahili community. And additionally, these points are, so first of all, first we work with our New American participants, looking for them a permanent job. So 40 hours a week plus benefits. We really want that our participants stay in their position and develop a career inside the company. So our goal is to make them competitive in the system and they can continue by themselves in the future. Second, we work with our New American students. We make a monthly presentation in the 5 Warren County High School, giving them information. We say information is power, and with this information, they can take the best, decision when they finish high school, maybe continue their education or take option for a short-term training or find a job. And additionally, we work with different companies, so referring them the best candidate possible, and additionally participate with them in the hiring process. So the idea in Bowling Green with our partner is to work as a team, trying to help and support our New American participants. So if you have any questions, suggestions, we're here. Brian is here to answer the question. Thank you so much.
Anna, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate your comments and the work that you're doing in the region. Dr. Fink, any comments? I just, with your name on the agenda, I don't want to overlook you, sir. If you wish
I appreciate that. I'm really here Christina is the content expert at our agency. In case you're wondering, Jewish Family and Career Services is a broadly based social services agency. One of our pillars of service is career and economic development with Americans as well as new Americans, and so that's why we're at the table. And I'm willing to answer any questions, but that's my content expert.
Fantastic.